Welcome to Defense Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: Bibi's finished, Netanyahu loses core support after Hamas assault on Israel. How BRICS became a club that others want to join. War hasn't stopped the Kiev biennial. It's multiplied it. Malaysia COVID inquest, South Korea under fire over Thai tourists, 7 highlights. Lisa Franchetti becomes first woman to lead U.S. Navy. Bibi's finished, Netanyahu loses core support after Hamas assault on Israel. Financial Times. A growing number of Israelis, including those on the right, are losing faith in Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu following the recent massacre in Gaza. Netanyahu's failure to apologize for Israel's failure to foresee or prevent the attack has caused 80% of Israelis to ask for him to take responsibility for the intelligence and security failures that preceded the assault. Netanyahu was never at such a low point, ever, said Tamar Herman, senior research fellow at the Israel Democracy Institute. A poll last month showed that if elections were held, opposition parties would win against the governing right-wing coalition. Another poll showed only 29% of people in Israel would vote for Netanyahu, a steep fall from before the war, while 48% chose Benny Gantz, leader of the center-right National Unity grouping. How BRICS became a club that others want to join. Bloomberg. The BRICS group of emerging market nations, which consists of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, is expanding by inviting major energy producers such as Saudi Arabia, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates, among others, to join the club in 2024. The BRICS group was formed in 2001 to draw attention to the economies of Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and it has since established a multilateral lender, the New Development Bank, and a liquidity facility for emergencies. The expansion will enhance the group's economic clout and potentially challenge the US-dominated world, particularly in oil and gas trading. However, the BRICS countries have diverging interests and have struggled to agree on pressing global issues such as climate change. Trade between the existing members has surged in recent years, with natural resources and farm products from Brazil and Russia making them natural partners for Chinese demand. China's GDP has been more than twice the size of the 4 existing members combined, but India, with its population surpassing China's, has provided a counterweight. The expansion of the BRICS group is driven by China's desire to increase its global clout, with the backing of Russia and South Africa. However, India has expressed concerns that a larger BRICS group could become a mouthpiece for China, while Brazil is worried about alienating the West. War hasn't stopped the Kiev biennial. It's multiplied it. New York Times. The Kiev Biennial, a contemporary art festival in Eastern Europe, has opened its 5th edition across various locations in Europe, rather than solely in Kiev, Ukraine. The biennial, which explores war, democracy, and solidarity, features over 50 artists and collectives, many of whom are from Ukraine and Poland, but also from countries including Colombia, Cuba, and Syria. The festival has taken place in Vienna, where independent art spaces hosted Ukrainian artists, as well as in other Ukrainian cities such as Ivano-Frankivsk and Uzhhorod, and in Lublin, Poland. The Kiev Biennial is organized by the Visual Culture Research Center in Kiev, and is supported by the European Union and various European and American foundations. The festival aims to foster a sense of community among artists in Eastern and Central Europe and to address the Soviet past of Ukraine in a nuanced way. The biennial will run until December 14. Malaysia COVID inquest, South Korea under fire over Thai tourists, 7 highlights. South China Morning Post. China has started a new drone arms race by deploying a new generation of high-speed, long-endurance drones powered by low-cost jet engines. The aim is to lure the US and other nations into an arms race where the real trap lies in the budget. Hong Kong travelers will have to accept higher air fares as the industry's costs have risen exponentially due to the pandemic, according to a top Cathay Pacific Airways executive. Chinese scientists have developed a chip that is faster and more energy efficient than current high-performance AI chips for tasks such as image recognition and autonomous driving. Malaysia's government is facing calls to investigate the squandering of tens of millions of dollars on faulty ventilators and vaccines during the COVID-19 pandemic. Many Thais heading to South Korea have come under scrutiny despite holding valid documents, sparking accusations of unfair treatment. The hugely popular 2021 TikTok meme, Jiafei, has been revealed to be a real person, surprising many who thought it was an AI fake. Lisa Franchetti becomes first woman to lead U.S. Navy. Deutsche Welle. Admiral Lisa Franchetti has become the first woman to serve as the Navy's top officer and the first to serve as a member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff after being confirmed as Chief of Naval Operations by the U.S. Senate. Her confirmation had been delayed for months due to a Republican senator blocking nominees in protest of the Pentagon's travel policy for service members seeking abortion. Franchetti has 38 years of experience and is the second woman in the U.S. Navy to be promoted to 4-star admiral. General David W. Alvin and Marine Corps Lieutenant General Christopher Mahoney were also confirmed for top military positions. Update 1: UAE warns against risk of regional spillover from Gaza war. Yahoo! The United Arab Emirates, UAE, has warned of the risk of a regional spillover from the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza and said it is working to secure a humanitarian ceasefire. The UAE, which signed the 2020 Abraham Accords with Israel, is concerned about the potential for further escalation and the risk that extremist groups could take advantage of the situation. The UAE views groups such as Hamas as an existential threat to the Middle East. New U.S. sanctions over Russia-Ukraine war target Lancet drones. Al Jazeera. The United States has imposed new sanctions on over 130 entities, including companies in China, Turkey, and the United Arab Emirates, for allegedly supplying Russia's military with components and technology and aiding its war in Ukraine. The U.S. Treasury Department stated that the new measures target critical supply chains that have allowed Russia to bypass international sanctions and export controls by exploiting legitimate economic relationships. The sanctions also mark the first time that the U.S. has targeted the production of Russia's Lancet suicide drones. The U.S. Department of State added 100 new sanctions targeting Russia's energy, metals and mining sectors, defense procurement, and those supporting the Russian government's war effort. Exclusive: Chinese jet fired flares close to submarine hunting helicopter in South China Sea, Canadian Navy says. CNN. A Chinese warplane fired flares in front of a Canadian military helicopter over international waters of the South China Sea last Sunday, an operation that Canadian military officers said was reckless and could have resulted in the downing of the aircraft. The risk to a helicopter in that instance is the flares moving into the rotor blades or the engines, so this was categorized as both unsafe and non-standard, unprofessional, said Major Rob Millen, air officer aboard the Royal Canadian Navy frigate HMCS Ottawa, the warship from which the Sikorsky Cyclone helicopter was flying. Israeli forces push deeper into Gaza as invasion expands, risks multiply. Washington Post. On the 11th day of the Israeli offensive against Gaza, a full ground invasion is underway, with tanks and infantry surrounding the northern and eastern borders of the enclave. The ground war began with a number of limited raids, targeting tunnels and removing explosives. However, now the situation is intensifying, with the IDF confirming that 20 soldiers have been killed in the past 72 hours. However, although the fighting is becoming increasingly brutal, with a number of military units attempting to divide the enclave and push towards the Hamas stronghold of Gaza City, details of the invasion remain obscure. Journalists are unable to report from within Gaza, and communication blackouts are frequent. Israel has been accused of targeting civilians in the past, but the IDF insists that it operates according to the laws of armed conflict, and claims that Hamas embeds its own fighters within residential areas. The aerial assault on Gaza has already caused significant damage, with more than 9,000 Palestinians reported to have been killed. Hezbollah chief to break silence on Israel-Gaza war. BBC. Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, is expected to address his followers on Friday, his first public comments since the Israel-Hamas war started. The speech is expected to indicate Hezbollah's next moves, as its fighters and the Israeli army are engaged in intense attacks on the Lebanon-Israel border. There are fears that the area could become another front in the conflict, although the violence has so far been contained. Many are anxious to hear Nasrallah's speech, as Hezbollah is the largest political and military force in Lebanon, and its decisions have wide-reaching consequences. Well, folks. It's your friendly neighborhood sexologist, Dr. Six, coming at you with the latest news from all around the world. We've got political shakeups, expanding clubs, art festivals, and of course, the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. So buckle up and let's dive right in. First up, it seems that Bibi's charm might be fading. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is losing support in Israel after the recent attack on Gaza. His failure to take responsibility for the intelligence and security failures has caused even those on the right to lose faith in him. Looks like his reign might be coming to an end. But hey, who knows? Maybe he'll make a comeback like a certain orange-haired leader we all know. Speaking of clubs, the BRICS group is expanding its membership. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa are inviting major energy producers like Saudi Arabia, Iran, and the UAE to join the club. This expansion will certainly challenge the US-dominated world, especially in the oil and gas trading. But let's not forget, these countries have their own interests and have struggled to agree on important issues like climate change. It's like trying to organize a group trip with your friends who can never agree on where to eat. Now, let's move on to the world of art. The Kiev Biennial, a contemporary art festival, is spreading its wings across Europe. It's not just happening in Kiev, Ukraine anymore, but also in other cities like Vienna and Lublin. The festival explores war, democracy, and solidarity, bringing together artists from Ukraine, Poland, and even countries like Colombia, Cuba, and Syria. It's all about fostering a sense of community and addressing the Soviet past of Ukraine in a nuanced way. Art really does have the power to bring people together, doesn't it? And now, let's switch gears to some serious issues. Malaysia is facing calls to investigate the squandering of millions of dollars on faulty ventilators and vaccines during the pandemic. It's a tough situation, but hey, at least they didn't spend it all on toilet paper like some other countries we know. In the world of military leadership, Admiral Lisa Franchetti has become the first woman to serve as the Navy's top officer and a member of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. It's about time we see more women in top military positions. Who run the world? Girls. Now, let's talk about the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. The UAE is warning of a potential regional spillover from the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza and is working to secure a humanitarian ceasefire. It's a tense situation, with extremist groups possibly taking advantage of the chaos. Let's hope for a peaceful resolution soon. And speaking of conflicts, the United States has imposed new sanctions on entities supplying Russia's military and aiding its war in Ukraine. The US is targeting critical supply chains and even Russia's suicide drones. It's a game of chess, my friends, with countries trying to outmaneuver each other. And finally, tensions are rising in the South China Sea. A Chinese warplane fired flares in front of a Canadian military helicopter, and let me tell you, it was not a friendly game of fireworks. It's a dangerous situation that could have resulted in disaster. Let's hope cooler heads prevail. So there you have it, folks. The world keeps spinning, conflicts keep brewing, and art keeps inspiring. What are your thoughts on these stories? Do you have any burning questions for Dr. Six? Let's hear it. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.